magtutuban kung pang gano'n.
Wala ko balik ko yan.
Ikaw pa ako naman yung paso.
Hearing. Dito tayo ngayon sa Congress hearing ng Smni sa kanilang franchise. Shoutout siya. Please like, please like. Please like, nandito na si Ka Eric. Magandang talakayan to ngayon. Nandito si Ka Eric. So nakita niyo po yan, si Ka Eric po yan, ng anchor ng Smni. Mahina dito yung signal pero dyan na kayo guys na. Pero okay naman, clear naman. So grabe ito mamaya. Nandito si Ka Eric. Hello Mang Simple Minute.
Speaker's office. And that's all, sir.
Grabe ito.
Ayaw ko na sa akin.
Perma na lang. Side lang.
Tayo na yung boss nila personal natin ito. Yung mga dito sa Smni channel. Nandito po na po si Jesus sa Attorney Filipino Attorney summer yun. Ano lang isa yun.
Marami rin ako dito sa passion. Isang palo.
Kabayan ka po dito rin. Raon. Grabe ka mamaya. Like tayo guys, subscribe para sa more updates natin sa ating Smni franchise.
Para mabayaran.
Dito tayo ngayon sa pinakadulo ng office ng Congress. Kaya medyo mahina ang signal.
Maiinit.
Morning. Legal Counsel ng Kingdom of Jesus, Attorney Ferdinand. Start na ba yan? Nakala ko hindi pa.
Naka-live na yun, naka-on na yun.
Try mo muna.
Tinabunan na kanina nakita ko. Ay, hindi. Oo. Hindi, atay naman kami dalawa eh.
Patay na. Wala pa na.
Ha? Hindi, okay lang. Nilalabas ko, sinedit ko naman.
Si Ka Eric nandun sa likod ng Attorney Eunice. Yan. Yan. Nandito pala siya ngayon.
Kayo, bakit niya? Ako tagal talaga.
Yeah, diba? Kaya medyo mabagal-bagal. Tinignan ko, was US pa. Oo. Mali. Tapos, paglabas mo ng volume there, sino mo ka ba? Shortcut. Ano? Pero, from gold for
House Bill number 9710, introduced by Representative Ramon Rodrigo L. Gutierrez, titled an act revoking the legislative franchise granted to Suarez Media Corporation operating under the business name Sunshine Media Network International, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 11422, entitled an act renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Suarez Media Corporation under Republic Act number 8122, entitled an act granting the Suarez Media Corporation of the Philippines a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes radio and television broadcasting station in the Philippines and for other purposes.
Maybe first the author, the Honorable Ramon Rodrigo Gutierrez, for House Bill number 9710.
Mr. Chair, although we've already, this representation already sponsored this bill, may likewise again move that my explanatory note be adopted as the sponsored speech for this bill.
Okay. We now proceed to the discussion. Any questions, Honorable Manuel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask a few questions to our resource persons. Mr. Chair, tanong po sa KOJC. Dahil kayo di ba merong executive pastor na siya din yung tinuturing na head ngayon ng Suarez. Am I correct, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, can I answer that question?
Yes, I'm sorry. The Honorable Mark Tolentino.
Yes, I'm a lawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the answer of that, Mr. Chair.
Welcome back to the committee, Attorney Tolentino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to the question of the Honorable Manuel, Mr. Chair, the executive pastor of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ is not part of the day-to-day operation of SMNI. But of course, with respect to Suarez Media Corporation, the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, we consider them as the investor. That's why the subscription of Suarez Media Corporation in 2019 started only as 50 million subscription. Now it's already 650 million, Mr. Chair. So if I may explain, Mr. Chair, Take also to manifest, Mr. Chair, that we furnished a copy of our position paper to all the members of the committee. Our position letter dated today, Mr. Chair, March 12, 2024, Mr. Chair. May I furnish this to the honorable committee, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Attorney Mark, kayo naman nandito naman kayo simula nung hearing natin November.
Yes, sir.
Bakit naman po papadala niyo yung copy niyo on the day of the hearing sa hapon pa? Ang taga po yung maaga, 12:30. Isang 30 minutos. Ano na yung pag-aralan lahat yan?
Now, it is just our position, Mr. Chair. It refers only to our answer in our previous hearing, Mr. Chair. But we put that on writing, Mr. Chair. So, we furnish all...
So you're not saying anything new in this letter? Nasabi niyo lang po lahat. Sinulat siya. Kasi nabasa
This is
ko
a
nga.
reiteration of our position, Mr. Chair.
Yes. So this is what this letter contains. Yung tapos meron pa kasama USB.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
From the very start,
something-
Mr. Chair, since November last year, and this is our position.
Anyway, we will have to validate this against the records of the committee, okay? Kung talaga ito po yung mga sinabi, ito po talaga ang mga ginawa niya. The Honorable Manuel, is it on the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, ulit clarify ko, ang executive pastor as corporation sole ay investor siya sa Swanso. Am I correct, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Chair, can the attorney explain ano ang function ng isang corporation sole?
When I say corporation sole, I already explained that in our previous hearing, Mr. Chair. That a corporation sole, the head of the corporation sole is considered as a trustee of all the properties of the corporation. So today, the head of Kingdom of Jesus Christ is in the person of Marlon Jacobo. He is the trustee of all the properties and he is considered as the head of the corporation. But he is not the owner of the executive master of Kingdom of Jesus Christ, but he is considered as a trustee. Kasi trustee, pinagkatiwala sa kanya ang Kingdom of Jesus Christ. The real owner are the members of the religious organization.
Mr. Chair, ano-anong properties ang pinag-uusapan natin? Ano-anong properties ito ng KOJC na kung saan trustee ang executive pastor?
I am not the best person to answer that, Mr. Chair. I'm just a lawyer or the legal counsel of SMN. So I can't answer that, Mr. Chair.
Then, Mr. Chair, we request the legal counsel of KOJC to answer.
Yes. Please.
May I respond, Mr. Chair?
Please.
May I respectfully request that the question be repeated, Honorable Manuel?
Mr. Chair, since nabanggit na ang executive pastor ay siya ang trustee ng lahat ng properties ng KOJC, I was asking ano-anong mga properties ang pinag-uusapan natin dito?
Mr. Congressman, marami po kasi we will be happy to furnish the committee with a list of the properties, but offhand, I would say properties dedicated to the propagation of the faith. There are houses of worship, places of worship, residences of the workers for the church, and others of a similar nature, Honorable Manuel.
Mr. Chair, maliban sa executive pastor, meron bang iba pang trustee or may similar function sa pag-handle ng ganitong mga properties ng KOJC?
As a corporation sole po, yung executive pastor or elder or basically po, whoever heads the church is the sole trustee and administrator of the properties of the corporation sole, Mr. Congressman.
And sa ngayon, Mr. Chair, again, I clarify that would be Executive Pastor Marlon Rosete.
Yes po, Marlon Jacobo, si Dr. Marlon Rosete po is the president of SMNI, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you din sa mga sagot. Pero Mr. Chair, ngayon doon po ako nalilito. Dahil recently lang ay na-announce po sa media na ang bagong property administrator ng KOJC Properties ay si former President Rodrigo Duterte. Pero Mr. Chair, ngayon we hear from the legal counsel of KOJC na ang may task to administer the properties would be the executive pastor. So Mr. Chair, ngayon there are conflicting accounts, no? At I think this causes confusion dito sa ating committee dahil kung sa bahagi po nila hindi malinaw sino talaga yung nag-administer ng properties. Ang dating sa akin, Mr. Chair, parang placeholder lang yung mga taong ito. Yung pagkakaroon ng corporation soul, sino yung nakalagay dyan. It seems na hindi talaga sila yung nagpa-manage ng mga properties na dahil yung KOJC ay hindi naman ay investor doon sa Suaraso na siya din nagpa-manage ng SMNI. Kaya Mr. Chair, I think this opens more questions sa ating committee dahil I think wala namang recent issues na involved si executive pastor. Kung merong involved sa maraming issues ngayon, Mr. Chair, that would be Apollo Kibuloy. Pero bakit merong pag-transfer ng responsibility from the executive pastor as the property administrator to former President Rodrigo Duterte? Actually nakakalito, Mr. Chair, and I think this compels the committee to go beyond yung labels at kung sino lang yung mga taong nilalagay ng KOJC o ng Suaraso sa kanilang mga official records na pinapasa nila maging sa Securities and Exchange Commission. Yun lang muna sa ngayon, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Very briefly, Mr. Chair. Yes, very briefly, Mr. Chair. When we say administrator, Honorable Manuel, that is the concept of trustee of the properties. The executive minister remains trustee. But however, under the general rules of administration in the civil code, when read together with the provisions of the revised corporation code, of course, the executive minister or the elder or the archbishop, etc., of any religious organization cannot be expected to comply with the spiritual aspect of running a corporation, so a religious corporation, and the day-to-day administration. And the revised corporation code itself, Honorable Manuel, states that there may be schemes in order to assist the trustee in administering. Therefore, the short answer is that the executive minister remains trustee, but in running the affairs of the...
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Point of order. Mr. Chair, point of order. Yes, Mr. Chair, point of order.
Point of order. The Honorable Franz Casco.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Kasi kanina ba, Mr. Chair, we have resolved na siya na yung sasagot for Pastor Kibuloy. Kasi nag-explain na siya yung tungkol doon sa yung pag-turn over ni Pastor Kibuloy kay former President Duterte. At hindi pa siya, Mr. Chair, ang council ba pwedeng magsalita for Pastor Kibuloy? Hindi po na-resolve yun. Kasi kung ganyan po ang mangyayari, Mr. Chair.
The chair allowed already.
So can we have him,
Yes.
take
So
his oath?
may we ask Attorney, kailan po Attorney Topacio pa lang po? Attorney Topacio lang po. Okay. Attorney Topacio, please raise your right hand. The Comsec, please administer the oath.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this congressional hearing, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
And another question, Mr. Chair. Is this taking of oath as representative or general counsel of Kibuloy waived already the client to answer questions?
No.
Ano po tanong niyo?
So, ibig sabihin po ba yung pag-oath at pag-testify po ni Attorney Topacio ay wini-waive na natin?
Yung ano po?
Pagpunta ni Kibuloy
Hindi
dito?
po. We will be citing it po in contempt and we will be asking for that he be...
Okay, so gusto lang po natin malinaw yun, kasi ang tanong po kasi ni Honorable Manuel po ay tungkol dun sa pag-turn over po.
Yes, he'll be requested, he will be asked to appear by the committee. And a proper motion will be will be entertained in a while. Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
so hindi po yung sagot ni Atty. Topacio yung sasagot dun sa
Opo.
mga tanong.
Because marami pong
Yeah, okay.
dapat sagutin si Pastor Kibuloy, as explained earlier, na hindi po nila masabi. Kundi nga muna sagot
Yes,
na Atty.
and-
Rolex at Atty. Martin.
Yeah, and in a proper time, Mr. Chair, I will also move to invite them, former President Duterte, kasi siya yung involved as of pinasahan ng property. Mr. Chair, si property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so next, any other
May I
member?
proceed,
The
Mr.
chair,
Chair?
the chair will recognize the Honorable Jose Esapino II of the First District of Agusan del Norte, the Honorable Jonathan Clement Avalos II of Fort Peace. He's here. Oh, welcome. And the Honorable Antonio Ferrer of the 4th District of Cavite. Just to let everyone know that I've already signed the attendance in this committee for the plenary. So it has been forwarded already to the majority for the Honorable
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, given din I think many of our fellow members would also want to ask. Mr. Chair, kung i-replay po natin yung sagot kanina ng legal counsel, malinaw po yung naging tanong ko at yung sagot din po niya ay task ng executive pastor acting as corporation sole yung pag-administer ng mga properties ng KOJC. Pero ang nangyari, Mr. Chair, ngayon mula dun sa executive pastor na wala namang kinasasakot ng issue ngayon, ay nalipat po yung task niya sa dati Pangulo. Kaya Mr. Chair, again, no, that brings more questions rather than answers sa committee.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Manuel. Yes, anyway, is there another question?
May I make the clarification, Mr. Chair, about the question of...
Maybe, Attorney Topacio, can you, because di ba, maybe, can you also rise so that, yes, Attorney Ambrosio.
Mr. Chairman, may I also respectfully request that Executive Pastor Marlon Acobo be likewise sworn in, because this is his first time also, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this congression of the case?
Thank you very much. Okay, Attorney Ambrosio.
As to the clarification with regards to the question of Congressman Manuel, so the scope of the appointment of former President PRRD is only in case of incapacity, disability, retirement, and other inability of the executive pastor and board of administrators. So this is, the appointment was made by the current executive pastor and the board of administrators that in case something might happen, the former president of PRRD will be able to manage the properties of the KOJC.
So, Attorney Ambrosio, this is contingent to if something happens
Yes.
to whom?
To the current executive pastor and to the board of administrators.
Who is the executive pastor?
Pastor Marlon Acobo.
So if something happens to Pastor Acobo,
Yes.
then President Duterte
May take over to manage
May.
the properties.
The
Will
president
take over.
will take over.
Yes.
Okay. Because doesn't Pastor Acobo, doesn't he, wala po siyang assistant na pwede mo take over?
This is, Your Honor, this was a management prerogative. It was the discretion of the executive pastor and the board of administrators that we will entrust the management of the properties of KOJC to former President Rodrigo Luneta.
If anything happens to, when you say anything happens, physically, may mangyayari po sa kanya?
This pertains to any inability, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Don?
Yes.
Honorable Fran Fumari.
Yes, I have a question to Pastor Mr. Acobo. Ilan taon na po kayo?
I'm 50, Your Honor.
Yeah, you very fit. Si former president ilang taon na to? More or less. 79. Kasi, Mr. Chairman, if I may, kasi meron po akong friend na, may edad na 60 plus, nagkaanak, okay? So yung mga kumpare niyang kinuha, may age bracket siya, ka-age siya, kumuha siya ng mas bata. Ano bang ibig sabihin dito? Ibig sabihin dito, yung mas bata and healthy, that can take care of yung son. So yung sa akin, I'm just wondering lang, bakit mas may edad na yung can take over? Ano ba naging basis ng sabihin nila?
Your Honor, pwede bang Bisaya lang mo, no? Kasi una ko ang sulti para ma-express na ako kung gusto ni sulti. Naman siguro tayo mga congressman din nga makasabot po sa akong isulti.
Ganyan po. We will have kailangan natin interpreter mo niya. Baka bago attorney. Okay.
So you will need somebody to interpret what you will be saying.
Okay. Who would like to serve
Can I ask as interpreter of Mr. Martin?
Okay. Attorney Martin, you will interpret sentence by sentence.
Okay.
Okay. Magtuloy po kayo.
Inali magod ang hemtang, Your Honor.
Ito ang sitwasyon, Your Honor.
Senator, Congressman Kamara. Nang pipili na po si former President PRRT, ang mga administrator sa Kingdom Properties, despite sa iyang edad.
Bakit pinili natin si
Ang
PRRT?
point mo, Your Honor, is ang edad.
Bakit meron naman interpreter?
Bakit pinili natin si PRRT?
Pastor Jacobo, please address your answer to the chair.
Yes, please.
Sorry po, sorry po.
Bakit pinili namin si PRRT despite sa kanyang edad?
Tungkol kay si former President Rodrigo Duterte, taas ang iyang eksperyensya, lawyer siya. Labaw sa tanan, suod siya ng higala sa Kingdom Ministry.
Pastor, interpreter.
Si PRRT, taas yung kanyang experience, abogado po siya, then malapit na kaibigan siya sa ministry.
Muna ang reason, Your Honor.
Yun lang.
Yun ang dahilan.
Salamat. Thank you very much to Pastor and Attorney Mark. Maraming salamat. Okay.
Sir Chair?
Yes.
Related lang po doon sa tanong.
Yes.
So is former President Duterte member of the KOJC? At ano yung naging role niya po sa KOJC in the past? And
After,
present?
Your Honor, di siya member, pero ang iyang stand sa Kingdom Ministry is more than a member. Tungod kay ang iyang respeto sa ministry, taas kayo. Sukat pa sa sinudan.
Hindi siya member ng ministry, but yung kanyang respeto at stand sa ministry is more than a member.
Salamat po. Okay. So, tapos po tayo. Thank you very much. Klaro na po tayo. Okay. We will recognize the Honorable Paduano. Then we will now go into we will proceed with further interpretation. The Honorable Paduano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clear the previous motion, and I was approved with this committee with regards to the order, Mr. Chairman. We should have a second motion. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we direct the Sergeant at Arms to coordinate with all enforcement agencies, particularly the PNP, to bring Pastor Kibuloy in the House premises. So move, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion by the Honorable Caraps Paduano Any second?
Second.
Seconded by the Honorable J.J. Suarez, Honorable Pimentel, and the Honorable Senior Deputy Speaker Don Gonzales. The chair in objection, the motion of the Honorable Paduano to ask the Sergeant of Arms, directing the Sergeant of Arms to bring Pastor Kibuloy to the House premises is hereby approved. We now proceed to the interpretation.
Just a point, just a follow-up.
The Honorable J.J. Suarez.
Insofar as the good attorney to Pasio is law-abiding and has taken his oath as a lawyer, and insofar as you are going to see the good pastor tomorrow, maybe you can aid the Sergeant of Arms in the exercise of their duty. Kasi makikita naman kayo bukas, di ba?
Well, with all due respect, that would be a conflict, Your Honor. I hope you respect the lawyer-client relationship. But I can advise him accordingly, Your Honor.
I was just, under the impression that, of course, you being a lawyer and this being a lawful committee hearing, and what we did was within the bounds of law. You might want to extend your assistance in the exercise of the duties of the committee.
Yeah, Your Honor, I believe that this committee or the House of Representatives is possessed of sufficient power to enforce its orders even without the assistance of this humble representation. But as a lawyer, of course, I will always advise my clients in accordance to my training in the law, Your Honor. That much I can assure the Honorable Committee. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Ferdinand Tapasio. Okay, any other question that any other member may have before we go for the we finally decide on this resolution. The Honorable Mix Urares is recognized. Attorney Mix.
Mr. Chair, just for the clarification of everyone, tama po ba na yung nakita po kasi natin sa news yung whole administrator. So right now, it's not in effect. Just to be clear for the body and the public that hindi pa administrator, Mr. Chair, yung pag-a-appoint po.
Yes. Well, as expressed by Attorney Ambrosio, who was under oath, that she is not yet the administrator as we speak, and it is contingent to anything that might happen to Ms. Arco.
Mr. Chair, if we can just have a copy of that also so that the committee will have a copy of whatever would happen since you executive pastor naman
Yes.
and there's an appointment pending. If we could have a copy of the document for
Yes.
the said appointment, Mr. Chair.
Attorney Ambrosio.
Your Honor, we will submit.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to SEC lang for the clarification of this process. Ano po ba ang proseso ng pag-appoint ng administrator pagdating sa corporation sold? Since it's a different kind of corporation, it's a special kind of corporation na ang executive pastor lang naman ang mag-a-administer ng mga properties and manage for behalf of the members of the religious sector. Mr. Chair.
That's addressed to
The SEC.
SEC. You may reply.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. To address the question of Honorable Nograles, when an entity incorporates in the SEC as a corporation sold, in the articles of incorporation, they will already specify who is the executive pastor or the elder or the rabbi or the chief of the corporation sold.
Mr. Chair, with regard to appointing of an administrator, should the executive pastor be incapacitated? What is the process for, Mr. Chair?
Proceed.
Per our record, with regard to the OGC, on December 16, 2022,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm just asking for a general process, not with relation to the KOGC.
a letter of appointment will be issued by the current executive pastor to his successor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to remind, since we're talking about the laws and the corporation code, given the gravity of what is happening in the media and everything, with regard to Section 111, also the revised corporation code, para lang umiwas po sa mga violations, Mr. Chair. In any encumbrance, selling, disposal of property by an administrator or executive pastor, kailangan pa rin po ng court approval dito with regard to that. And I'm just more appealing na sana sumunod po KOJC, ang Suara Sobor, especially KOJC, sa mga ganitong aspeto so that we won't be looking into further violations, and should there be any change, again, the consent also of Congress. Yun lang po, Mr. Chair, just to raise it as a way of reminding lang po the corporations on their procedural aspects para wala na po, iwas na po sa mga violations na pwedeng mangyari po, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Migs Nograles. SEC, please take note of the statement of the Honorable Migs Nograles. Thank you. So, any other member that would like to speak for or against this measure? You have now the Honorable Gutierrez.
Yes, Mr. Chair, sorry, before we proceed po, just a few questions. Like I mentioned, we had some material questions that were left unanswered in the previous deliberations, and we'd like to take a crack at the theory of the good attorney Tomasio that they might be able to answer po. So with the indulgence of this committee, may I proceed with my interpellation of the executive pastor?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, may I request that perhaps is the Attorney Ambrosio capable of translating for Pastor Jacobo? Yes. Okay, Mr. Chair. So that to keep it po within KOJC, while we no doubt appreciate the interpretation skills of the good attorney Valentino, but we would like to have a separate po, para we're not confused where KOJC ends and where SMNI begins. So, Mr. Chair, may I ask the good Pastor Jacobo, through the good attorney Ambrosio, in your GIS papers, may we begin? How long have you been with the KOJC?
Your Honor, nagsugod po sa Quibs ko since 1985.
Your Honor, nagsimula po ako since 1985. Ipagsama kay Pastor since 1985.
Mr. Chair, I noticed the good pastor does not need a translator to understand my question. But
Pagkasabot ko,
okay.
Okay, Your Honor, pero
You understand.
gusto
You
lang
can
natin ma-express
I
na
see.
gustong isulti.
You would prefer not to express in another language, or you are unable of expressing in another language?
Mas prefer ko nga musulti o Bisaya, Your Honor.
He prefers to answer in Cebuano.
Is that correct? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the record. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask the good pastor. So, since 1985, but his appointment as executive pastor was on what date specifically?
Nagsugod ang ako ang pagkahimong executive pastor, Your Honor. At kung time na gipinapan na nako ang mga papers para sa Securities Exchange and Commission.
Nagsimula ako maging executive pastor nung pinirmahan ko yung mga papers for the Securities and Exchange Commission.
That was December 19, 2022. O pagka sunod na tuig, January 4, 2023, giaprubahan sa SEC ang pagkahimo na kong executive pastor.
It started in December 19, 2022, and on January 4, 2023, it was approved by SEC. Your Honor, may I make a clarification? So, what Pastor Marlon is pertaining to is the amended Articles of Incorporation, since corporation souls are not required to submit general information sheets.
Okay, so we're now referring to the KOJC, Mr. Chair. But for the appointment, because, by the way, thank you, Pastor, for attending today. No, we would have hoped that you were with us from the start. But we were under the impression, I believe it was one of the representatives of the Smni, that Pastor Acobo took over in 2021. How can we... 2021 daw po yun,
2022, Your Honor.
2022 and take over. So the mentioned appointment papers by Attorney Tolentino was based on what? May we ask Mr. Chair, the representative of SMNI?
Attorney Tolentino, your statement, his statement was 2021.
If I'm not mistaken, of course.
I have with me, Mr. Chair, the certificate of appointment of Brother Marlon B. Jacobo, signed by Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, dated December 19th of 2022.
Mr. Chair, may we ask the council? If I recall correctly, the previous hearings, it was alleged that it was sometime in 2021. Maybe check with the records of the, maybe ask the committee to provide for the records with the appointment papers. Probably after the appointment, because there seems to be this was very distinct to me.
I think, Mr. Chair, I have to clarify. I was talking about SMN, the participation of Pastor Apollo Kibuloy with respect to Suara Sud Media Corporation. Because Pastor Apollo Kibuloy was still a stockholder since in 2019. But in 2020, he is not anymore. In 2020, he's still is a stockholder of Suara Sud Media Corporation. In 2021, he's also a stockholder of Suara Sud Media Corporation. But in 2022, he already donated his share to Jesus Christ Workers Members Cooperative.
Mr. Chair, sorry, just
that's why, Mr. Chair, I submitted our position paper today, Mr. Chair, to give emphasis to our stand, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, we would have appreciated siguro po yung position paper weeks or days ago so that we can properly understand. The position paper submitted today and the hearing today, of course, we cannot consider whatever the contents are, but rest assured that we will be studying that after today po. So, Mr. Chair, so to clarify lang po, no? So according to Executive Pastor, the appointment in GS papers for KOJC 2022 po. The appointment letter, can we have a reading against the appointment, Mr. Chair?
Okay, Mr. Chair. The certificate of appointment of the Executive Pastor of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, dated December 19, 2022 at KJC Compound, Phil Japan, Friendship Highway, Sasa, Davao City, signed by Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy to Brother Marlon B. Jacobo, Mr. Chair. Acobo.
For KOJC?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So we have to clear with our records for what stood up distinctly was the representation by representatives of F7I that there was a transfer in 2021. Because I remember this particular, Mr. Chair, because we were discussing in GIS. Because
the GIS, Mr. Chair, refers to the Suara Sud Media Corporation, not to the Kingdom of Jesus Christ.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So yun po, kasi what's particular to me, Mr. Chair, okay, first and foremost, we'd like to reiterate that the existence of KJC as sole, corporation sole, is still under question as per the interpellation of the Honorable Nograles as affirmed by the SEC that there were questions as to the 2/3 voting. So we still have yet to receive a report from the SEC on that matter. But that's just to put it on record po na that on question pa. But assuming that we will not proceed with the rules supposedly na ito ay corporation sole, Mr. Chair, our question with SMNI is that for September 2020, yung submission ng GIS, and then April 2021, yung GIS, nandun pa rin po si Pastor Kibuloy. And it was both a stockholder and beneficial owner. I would assume that the beneficial ownership of Pastor Kibuloy does not come from his ownership of stocks, but of his influence and control of the corporation, as is per the rules of the SEC. But in the GIS of 2022 as of June submitted, and 2023 as of May, he was no longer stockholder. Neither was he beneficial owner, which would make sense for the appointment in December 2022. However, the GIS was submitted June 2022. So on the papers pa lang po ng GIS, wala na po si Pastor Kibuloy. but the appointment was made in December. How do we explain this incongruency, Mr. Chair?
Pwede ko muhatag o brief history nga nung nahimo kong executive pastor.
Can I give a brief history on how I became the executive pastor?
Opo. Kung yan ay, I will allow that, pero kailangan mong pasagot yung tanong ha. Bakit ho, iba yung sa dokumento, iba yung kinikwento nyo niya?
Ganito po kasi, inanim ni Your Honor, ang plano ni Pastor na ibiyaan na niya ang iyang pagka-executive pastor.
Ang plano ni Pastor na umalis na sa pagka-executive pastor.
Nag-start ito 2015 pa po.
Okay.
And then, the following year, 2014, tungod kay pagka 2015 na kami general meeting kauban sa tanang mga international o national leaders.
In 2015, we had a meeting with the leaders of KOJC.
I-announce na ni Pastor na iyan ang biyaan ang iyahang pagka-executive pastor.
Pastor Apollo already announced that he will leave his position as the executive pastor.
Kung iyan na ning itugyan sa mga board of administrators.
And he will entrust this to the administrators.
Mr. Chair?
2019, padayon sa, Your Honor, pwede po padayon.
Pwede yung ano yan,
Okay.
yan natin.
2019, iingnan ako ni Pastor na ako sa succession plan sa Kingdom of Jesus Christ. 2019, naan ako sa succession plan na ako ang musunod sa iya.
In 2019, I was already in the succession plan.
Na-formalize ni Your Honor, niyatong nipirma ko sa tanang mga legal documents para sa SEC December 19, 2022.
Okay. So, yan po inyong tanong, kung ang intention pa rin 2016 kayo na, o bakit hindi mo kayo 2016 o sa 2019 tinigil ng kayo na sa mga dokumento, bakit po sa December, sa 2023 pa, pumasok po ang pangalan niyo?
Your Honor, tungod kaya ng panahon na ako sa abroad, ang akong assignment nasa abroad. Na ako sa Middle East, na-assign o sa Tibok, Africa.
So, okay. So,
tapos na ako ang pandemic.
Opo. Klaro po tayo dyan. So, ang hindi pa rin po natin nasagot, yung tanong mo ni bakit nagre-reflect pa rin sa SEC documents na yung pangalan po ni Pastor Kibuloy nung siya sabi nyo kayo na. Ngayon siya sabi nyo nasa abroad kayo, nasa hindi pa formal.
Your Honor, may we ask the question to be repeated so that it's clear?
There's a inconsistency. I think the question, can you please just answer the question of Honorable Gutierrez? Why does it reflect that it's still Pastor Kibuloy when he's now saying that it's not anymore Pastor Kibuloy?
Your Honor, if you are pertaining to the general information sheet of Swarasu in 2022, it was filed on June 2022. Therefore, Pastor was still the executive pastor at that time. However, he is no longer stockholder. He is no longer the stockholder of Swarasu because he donated his shares to Jesus Christ Workers Members Cooperative.
Wait.
On GIS for June 27, 2022. And the appointment of Pastor Acobo happened on December 19, 2022.
Correct. But for the record purposes, there's no show of the transfer because the GIS still shows it's still Pastor Kibuloy.
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, the amended articles was released or approved by SEC on January 4, 2023.
Correct. So that's what they have on record. Also, it still doesn't answer why is it the name of Pastor Kibuloy still there when in SEC it's so as far as we're concerned for the entire year of January of 2022, who's Pastor Kibuloy?
For the entire year 2022, Your Honor, it was only on December 19 that the appointment of Pastor Apollo was provided or decided by the board.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just a point of order.
Honorable
I don't know
Gutierrez.
if we have it in our rules. I'm sorry if I must drive down this point. No? Mr. Chair, the executive pastor was assigned abroad po, no? Perhaps we would appeal again that perhaps he would choose to express himself. I'm sure he's very capable in English. Because, Mr. Chair, for when the testimony, when the we invite our resource persons to ferret out the truth, as the SJJ said. When it is being course through an colleague and an attorney at that, who has been also inputting her own answers in not as translation, nalilito po tayo kung which were the words of pastor and which are the words of the attorney. Mr. Chair, he did say it was only a preference. Perhaps he would consider expressing himself in a language understood by us all here.
Your Honor, no, gusto man ako, pero mas ma-express magod na ako ang akong isulti kung akong gamiton ng akong pinulungan. Ay, inabot nga,
Mr. Chair, with the kind volunteerism of the Congresswoman Karin, she has offered to translate for us.
Attorney Mark, you might want to translate first.
Mr. Chair,
it was stated, I don't think it was stated. Yeah, Attorney Mark, kayo muna.
Ay gustuhin man niya magsalita ng Tagalog, but he cannot express na anong komportable siya.
so Mr. Chair, whether or not we accept, comfort or preference, luckily, the Honorable Karin has offered. This might be new for the committee po, no?
Yes.
But if we would accept that as our procedure going on, no? Parang we can separate rin yung testimony ni Attorney Ambrosio.
Yes.
Kasi kanina po, may translation sana for Pastor Acobo, pero may input naman sa GIS si Attorney Ambrosio, just to separate the two.
Thank you. The chair recognizes the other members of the committee, the Honorable Jojo Lara, who's here. Welcome, sir, of the 3rd District of Cagayan, and of course, the Honorable Janet Jarin, 1st District, Iloilo. Meron po po kayo sabihin before we now, the Honorable Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, and proceeding now back to that procedural question. Yung tanong po natin dito is because there seems to be a disconnect between the GIS of the SMNI with the appointment of Executive Pastor Acobo and the internal workings of KOJC. Kasi po, okay, admittedly, let us say in 2019, there were informal plans to have Executive Pastor Acobo take over, and that this only took effect in December 2022. It doesn't explain for the change of the GIS in June 2022. Kasi po dito, natanggal na si Pastor Acobo, and still, another factor, we will ask, natanggal na po dito si Pastor Kibuloy, but still, Pastor Acobo was not included there. Kaya po yung tanong namin sa SEC, which they said, wala naman pong beneficial ownership portion in the documents you see by SEC. So that's another issue that we have po, no? Just to recall, para sa lahat natin dito, there is a difference in the GIS submitted before this committee and the GIS submitted before the SEC. So the SEC could not also clarify kung ano po yung beneficial ownership. So going back po, no? Though there were plans for Executive Pastor Acobo to take over in 2019, and this only took effect in January 2022, it doesn't explain kung bakit wala na po si Pastor Kibuloy in June of 2022, unless the GIS was already reflecting changes without the proper appointment papers. Mr. Chair, do you have the explanation for the good pastor?
actually, kana nga issue, Your Honor, naamugod na sa website.
Okay.
Sa Smni ang GIS, kana nga panahon, siya pa ang executive pastor.
Okay, the Honorable Jerry, we want to first take.
During the time, he was still the executive director. He was the
Executive pastor. Sa pag-submit, ma'am, Your Honor,
When it was submitted,
June, sa GIS, June 27, 2022, si Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, siya pa ang executive pastor.
so when it was submitted, June 27, 2022, Pastor Tibuloy was still the executive pastor.
Opo.
Mr. Chair, then why was he not the beneficial owner in 2022?
Nga nawakan siya na beneficial owner sa 2022.
Your Honor, may I ask?
Yes, Attorney Ambrosio.
So, Your Honor, Pastor Apollo was not included in the 2022 GIS of Sualasu because he does not control the operations of Sualasu. At the same time, it was the period wherein KOJC, the executive pastor, would want not to involve itself in commercial transactions. So that's why during this period, all control was given to Suarasu because they have their own board of directors. So that's the reason, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, of course, we don't accept that that's the reason, but it is highly suspect because for the years 2022 and 2023, KJC still had 53.4% ownership, not including the indirect ownership they had through Phoebus, which had 46.2%. So if the reason is to divest, I think that would have done through the stockholders. And Mr. Chair, the question here, and if that were the case, is it not his being beneficial ownership of 2020 and 2021, in which he was still there, was because he was executive pastor. Therefore, it follows in 2022, when he was still executive pastor, he still should have been beneficial owner. And not only that, after 2022, Executive Pastor Apobo is nowhere to be found in the beneficial ownerships as Executive Pastor for 2022 or 2023. So, Mr. Chair, this only supports what we have been inclined to believe, that there is confusion in the papers being submitted before this committee under Section 12 of the reportorial requirements. Made worse by the fact that the document submitted here is different from the document submitted to the SEC. So it brings to focus again, Mr. Chair, the issue of whether SMNI, this is no longer KOJC, SMNI is faithfully fulfilling its obligation and duties under the franchise, a privilege granted to it by this body, by this office board. So, Mr. Chair, one question. We'll move on from the GIS portion now. I have a question on Section 4 and 7. Recently, we've come to the knowledge that one of your star talents, independent contractors, was found guilty of indirect contempt. Mr. Chair, may we find out from SMNI if there has been any action on their ethics board by you, or remedial board, disciplinary board?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask, who is the talent?
Mr. Chair, it's Ms. Bato.
Ms. Badoy and Eric Celis, they have their program, Laban Kasamang Bayan, is no longer is suspended as of today, Mr. Chair.
As of today?
No, since February, Mr. Chair.
Since February, Mr. Chair. So, because...
You can check the even on social media, Mr. Chair. We have no more Laban Kasamang Bayan on in our social media, and including but of course there is Laban Kasamang Bayan in rally in Iwasan ng Bonifacio.
Same name, no relation.
No relation.
No relation. It's a branding thing. No?
Yes, okay.
So, Mr. Chair, starting February, wala na po yung Laban Kasamang Bayan.
Suspended.
Kahit sa social media.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Our independent contractors are in no way now working with SMNI.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yun na, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that answer. Going back po, no? So just to summarize, because I have not concluded my question here. For the consideration of this body, the Violations that we have found are on Sections 4, on responsibility to the public, and Section 7 for self-regulation. In relation to the numerous allegations, indictments, or findings of fake news, red tagging, we're also citing Section 10 on the provisions for sale, lease, transfer of ownership. On Section 11 for dispersal of ownership requirement. Section 10 and Section 11 carry with them ipso facto provisions for their revocation. And Section 12, which was just highlighted today, all the more because we could not get the proper answer on the repertoire requirements. So I submit to this body, Mr. Chair, and I request that we consider my bill that is pending before the body. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, the Honorable
Mr. Chair.
Gutierrez.
Can we recognize Mr.
The
Chair?
Honorable Mark Tolentino.
Attorney Martin, Mr. Chair, all the questions of the good Congressman Gutierrez is already answered, Mr. Chair, in our position paper. Can I explain in details, Mr. Chair, by reading our position paper?
Attorney Mark, since you stated earlier that that is just a summary of all previous statements that you have made, which is still before already with the committee, then we have that already on record. So I don't think you still need more time to express what you've already stated in the previous case. But let's be rest assured that as far as Honorable Gutierrez is concerned, it has been remained unanswered and he's still in the state of confusion as far as your answers are concerned. Thank you very much. Any other member? The Honorable Pacho, sorry.
Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, hindi na surprise kasi Pastor Jacobo was appointed by Pastor Kibuloy as trustee. Executive pastor. Di ba nakapagtataka, he cannot express himself in English, in Tagalog. Pero siya po yung chosen one. Ano very special characteristic o special kay Pastor Jacobo?
No, it's a management prerogative na ni Pastor na siya ang pili kinsa gusto mo upuin sa iya, whether makasulti o English o dili.
So it's Kibuloy's prerogative based on management skills, not dependent on the mastery or the art of speaking either in Tagalog or English.
Thank you po, Mr. Chair.
Proceed. Who do you want? Sino gusto niyo sumagot po siya? Okay na po. So any other question? Wala na po. Okay, so are there any other questions for or against this measure? The Honorable Francis Castro.
Yung tungkulin po sa SMNI, no? So, iba po yung sa KOJC, no? Yung mga trustee doon. And of course, with the SMNI. So, gusto ko lang itanong, Mr. Chair, dahil yung stockholder na KOJC, tama ba? Stockholder ang KOJC sa SMNI. And KOJC, Mr. Chair, is a church, di ba? So, church siya. So, tanong ko lang, Mr. Chair, kung nagbabayad po ba ang SMNI ng tax since ang majority stockholder ay church. So, paano po ba yan? Siguro sa DIR, Mr. Chair, so siguro masasagot po ni Attorney Mark Tolentino kung paano ba yung gano'n na merong component ng church as a stockholder ng SMNI, and then yung SMNI ay in a commercial business, di ba? O sa business siya ng broadcasting.
Mr. Chair, it is not the Kingdom of Jesus Christ who is the stockholder of Suarso Media Corporation, but it is the executive pastor of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, the name above every name. So, under the latest 2022 GIS, Mr. Chair, and also 2023, with respect to the taxes, we complied all the BIR regulations, payment, and we can present that to this honorable body, our income tax return of Suarso Media Corporation, Mr. Chair. And it is open book. You can ask the BIR whether or not we complied all the tax requirement, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so ano rin po ba yung yung executive pastor as stockholder doon sa SMNI, Mr. Chair, yung benefits niya from that? So paano po ba yun as a major stockholder po doon sa
Mr. Chair,
executive pastor? Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, with due courtesy to the Honorable Franz Castro, just a quick interjection, Mr. Chair, if I may. Because SMNI is the business name, but the corporate name is actually Swarasa. So maybe for reference, because it's on the records, and the Honorable Castro will be amenable, all her reference to Sunshine Media Network International earlier be changed to Swarasa Media Network International.
Yes. Okay, so, yeah, Attorney Braso.
Your Honor, may I answer for the question of Honorable Castro? So as to KOJC, aside from being a stockholder of Swarasu, KOJC is also a block timer. So we broadcast spiritual programs through Swarasu, and in case there will be income, dividends may be declared and may be distributed to KOJC as a stockholder. But as of record, there are no dividends declared since based on the decision of the board of Swarasu.
So, Mr. Chair, dinawin ko lang, so ibig sabihin, so walang kinikita dito yung KOJC doon sa SMNI.
As of the moment, Your Honor, KOJC has not received dividends from Swarasu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Franz Castro. Any other question by any other member? If there's none, other question, Honorable Johnny Pimentel.
Mr. Chair, this is already the 5th hearing that we have conducted. And, 6? Okay. So, 6 na hong hearing ang ginawa natin dito. We have already heard all sides pertaining to the subject matter. We have discussed thoroughly all the pertinent provisions of Republic Act 11422. We exhausted already all arguments that needed to be discussed. And Mr. Chair, of the 6 hearings that we have conducted, this committee, I believe, was able to establish violations of Swarasu to their franchise. And may I repeat what has been stated by the author, Representative Gutierrez. First and foremost, we have seen or we have established that they were in violation of Section 4, responsibility to the public, which we have already thoroughly discussed, which I will not discuss anymore. Section 10, the sale, lease, transfer, grant of usurper or assignment of franchise. We were able to establish that there was a exchange of ownership from Kingdom of Jesus Christ. In 2020, they reported in their GIS that KOJC owned 95% of Swarasu. However, in 2022, as per their GIS, the shares of KOJC was diluted to 46% and it was transferred to Quibs Global Holdings, I believe. So clearly, there was a transfer of ownership, and under Section 10, they should report this to Congress and, or rather, ask permission from Congress. And once the transfer is consummated, they should report it to Congress within 60 days, which they did not do. Now, under Section 11, we have also established that they were also in violation of this pertinent provision, dispersal of ownership. It is very clear that in the life of their franchise, they should offer to Filipino citizens at least 30% of its outstanding stock. However, for the past 29 years on which they have been operating, not a single stock has been offered to Filipino citizens. And lastly, Section 12, which is the reportorial requirement. So, Mr. Chair, klaro-klaro ho, although of course the legal counsels of Loob will oppose our findings, they have their own interpretation also of the law, but I believe that this committee has found sufficient grounds to revoke their franchise. On this note, Mr. Chair, this representation would like to move for the approval of House Bill number 9710, an act revoking the legislative franchise granted to Loob Media Corporation. So move, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion for approval of House Bill 9710. Any second?
Second motion, Mr.
Duly
Chair.
seconded by Honorable Pancho. Any objections? The chair in objections, House Bill number 9710 is approved as with no amendments. May I suspend the hearing to direct the committee secretary to prepare the committee report. Session suspended. Hindi pa po tayo.
Stretch lang po, sir.
Meron pa?
Session resumes. Please take your seats. Session resumes.
Mr. Chair, I have in possession the draft committee report on House Bill 9710. So again, on this note, Mr. Chair, I move for the approval of the committee report. So move, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion, duly seconded, the chair suggestion committee report is, there's a second? Second by Honorable Pancho, second by Honorable Ferrer and Honorable Aquino. Honorable Manuel, the chair in objections, committee report is adopted.
Mr. Chair,
I think the Honorable continues.
hopefully, Chair, sana before you will make any voting, Mr. Chair, I'd like to request time or a chance to explain our side, Mr. Chair. And before you consider your voting, I'd like to request all the members to just read our position paper, Mr. Chair, and consider our position paper, because in pursuant to the due process laws, Mr. Chair, give us chance to explain and consider also our position paper before making any voting, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Honorable Tolentino. The vote has already been
I know, Mr. Chair, that's why it's
That one has
for
already
me.
been casted.
That's
There's
why it's
an approval, and we take note of your request. But I just like to inform you, because of you submitted your position paper 30 minutes before the hearing.
That's why, Mr.
We
Chair.
had no time to distribute all of that to all the members. So after this hearing, we will be giving all members a copy of the position paper that you wrote, which is basically a summary of everything that you said in the previous hearings as you manifested earlier.
Mr. Chair,
Kaya po nagsabing, lahat yun nasabi yun eh.
our position paper will become useless if you have no, you admit, Mr. Chair, that you have no more time to study and making voting. That's why I'm asking, before you vote, Mr. Chair,
But
at least
earlier-
1 week, Mr. Chair, to give all the members a chance to read our position paper. Mr. Chair.
Attorney, Attorney Lee, sino lang po you know, we gave you 3 weeks to prepare that position paper, attorney. You submitted 30 minutes before the series started. I mean, let's be also fair, because there's no way for us to be able to distribute and for all members to study that. First of all, your position paper was just basically things that you already said to us. So we've taken note of that.
Our request, Mr. Chair, is based on the due process clause of the Philippine Constitution, and we believe the franchise of Smni is still protected by the due process clause of the Philippine
Definitely,
Constitution.
that's why, that is the very reason why we had 6 months of hearing, 6 hearings. We said 5. He corrected us earlier. He said it was 6 hearings, not only 5 hearings. Thank you for the correction. And I think that is already very clear as far as our wanting to give this process to observe due process in this particular hearing. Palagay ko naman po, November pa ho natin pinag-uusapan, Marso na po na yun, ang dami na po natin pagkakataon. I-submit po lahat yan. And it is sad to know that you submitted this document to us 30 minutes before this hearing, which we find truly unfair.
We submit to the sound discretion of this honorable committee, but we still stand with our position, Mr. Chair.
Your stand is requested, and your stand is noted, and we request that the COMSEC be directed to submit and distribute all those documents which were submitted 30 minutes today, 30 minutes before this hearing. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm very short.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Mr.
The
Chair.
Honorable Janet Karim.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, for the information of Attorney Mark Tolentino, I believe with the permission of the chair and the august body, the position report, the position paper can actually be submitted to all members of Congress. Anyway, after the committee report, this will still be tackled in the plenary. And for that reason, Mr. Chair, I believe there is still ample time for all members of Congress to review the position paper as submitted by the legal counsel of SMNI. So with that, Mr. Chair, I believe it will be fair for everybody to pursue the line of discussion with the Honorable Chairman, Mr. University.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Karim. So again, I direct the committee secretary to please submit and furnish all members of this committee and of course our House Secretary a copy of their position paper for distribution to all members. Maybe a hard copy and a soft copy should be given to them. Thank you. The Honorable Attorney Tomasio.
Mr. Chair, thank you again for this opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, very briefly, upon recognizing the powers of this committee to hold a person in contempt, may I make a final appeal, Mr. Chair, to defer the implementation of the contempt order until after I have advised my client. That is a very humble request from this representation. Just a few days, and maybe we can submit something to clarify our position, and then if it's still the pleasure of the body to continue with it, and then we will abide by it, Your Honor. Just a deferment, not a revocation of the order of contempt, Your Honor. Just a few days, if this committee can find it in its cards.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Patwa.
And what we expect in that 3 or 5 days? What do you expect? You're going to
I will, as I intimated to this honorable body, because I cannot lie to it, I'm under oath, I will be seeing my client tomorrow and I will try to advise him with respect to the order, Your Honor. I will give it my best good faith effort, and I say this not only under my oath before this committee, but under my oath as a lawyer and as a member of the Philippine Bar. Thank you, Your Honor.
So the day after tomorrow, we will expect you and Pastor Kamara to be present in Congress.
I will advise him.
What I'm saying is that will be if you ask me about the consideration, that will be the requirements for us to differ.
Well, of course, I cannot, with respect to that, I cannot speak for the good pastor, but Your Honor, I will be seeing him and I will be advising him accordingly, Your Honors.
Attorney Topacio, let's make this clear. What you're asking is for deferment of the action.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so we will 5 days. So
Yes,
from
Your Honor.
5 days from now, if we do not hear from you, then we can now implement.
Yes, Your Honor. Whether whatever the result is, out of courtesy to the chairman,
Yes.
I will seek an audience with the honorable chairman to report to him.
Okay.
Your Honor, as a matter of courtesy.
So there's no, yes, thank you very much. Anyway, so there's no withdrawal, no deferment. All we're asking the implementation. So kung pwede, we wait for 5 days, we hear from you. I think that's the request, ha? I think that's be clear as one of
Yes, yes, Your Honor. Very clear to this representation.
Yes,
So
Your Honor.
the change will be implemented on March 18, that is Monday.
Yes. Yes, we start, the March 18 will be the final.
Mr.
We have to
Chair.
hear before, on or before March 18. The Honorable Pimentel.
This is only a food for thought for all of us. And although it's hypothetical, however, Attorney Topacio might be asking for a furlough, for a 5-day furlough, but we know all very well that Pastor Cabeloy at this point in time is already a flight risk. So baka naman ang humingi ni Pastor Cabeloy to give time so that our time in Attorney Topacio, humingi ng palugit para makaalis na si Pastor Cabeloy out of the country. Hindi naman ba already rumors. So, it would be a dangerous precedent on our part. Yun lang, Mr. Chair. I think dapat pag-isipan natin to our colleagues, if you give 5 days, we can easily, we know that Pastor Cabeloy has a fleet of planes. Anytime pwede siyang umalis. Unless, of course, that we issue or we request a whole departure order from immigration, considering that we have already issued a contempt order and there is already a request for a search warrant, or rather an arrest warrant for the sergeant of arms, and then there is a pending again subpoena or contempt from Senate. So dalawang chamber ito, hindi po natin maalis yung Attorney Topacio that at this point in time si Pastor Cabeloy nag-iisip na rin niya na tatakas. Kaya hindi na nga nagpapikita. Pag-bring sa social media, issue statement incognito. So, yun lang po ang dapat pag-isipan po natin, Mr. Chair.
Attorney Topacio, bukas mo po hearing natin. Pwede po ba after the hearing tomorrow, can we hear from you?
Nasa Davao po ko, I'll be back on Thursday, Your Honor.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair,
I can call Your Honor.
You can call us. You can call us when on Thursday.
The day after tomorrow.
Yes, Your Honor.
Today is Tuesday.
Yes, Your
We
Honor.
meet with you Wednesday. Thursday you can.
Mr. Chair,
At the latest Friday, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
yes, Attorney Topacio said earlier that you will be meeting with Pastor Cabeloy tomorrow. So why will we give him 5 days? Siguro na naman until tomorrow.
Okay, we'll give you up to Thursday.
Your Honor, with respect to the apprehension that you will be pleading, there's already a lookout bulletin, Your Honor, issued, directed from the DOJ to the immigration.
Okay,
So,
that's why. And maybe we can also say that if he wanted to really leave, he would have left for.
yes, actually, Your Honor, I was about to say that. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, could you give me at least until Friday?
Okay, we will give you the deadline with the permission of the movement and those that have seconded. Do you have any objections to giving him up to Friday? If there are none, then therefore your request is granted that the implementation will commence after Friday. On Friday.
I will personally call on the Honorable Chairman to report.
Yes. And if you wish to write the committee letter to it, you may be feel free to do so.
I thank you, Your
And if you
Honor.
can do it earlier than Friday, it will be much appreciated.
Yes, not later than Friday.
Yes.
The earlier, Your Honor.
Yes. Thank you very much.
We
Okay.
appreciate the gesture of the committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that is clear that the contempt charges stay, but we will give them 3 days after this one-on-one meeting with Pastor Kibuloy in Tagpo.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Your
very
Honor.
much.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn to the seconded, the chair of the this session is adjourned.
Committee level.